Welcome to the Third Degree Masonic Podcast, where we are always on the level. We're your hosts. I'm Brother Samuel.
I'm Brother Gabriel.
And I'm Brother Ryan. I'm actually in this one.
And we're just a bunch of Masons trying to find our place in this fraternity. Craftsmen, welcome back. We hope you enjoyed that amazing interview with Brother Chad. I know we did. It was definitely off the rails a little bit, kind of blew our minds. One hell of a keynote speaker. We couldn't have asked for a better one. So thank you, Brother Chad, for that.
Absolutely.
We'd like to take a quick shout out to our sponsor, Genoa Lodge, number 433. Thank you for having faith in us, brothers. And thank you, MasonGearShop.com. If you need a cool hat or even want some of our own podcast merch, check it out, MasonGearShop.com. So, Craftsmen, it's that time where we sit down and we find out, did we learn anything? And that's for the question of, what does it mean to be a traveling man?
So, what's really interesting about these topic episodes when we do them is at the end when we do sit down and do this powwow about what we've learned. And our last questions, it was interesting about the kind of we understand the question better. This one I do think might be a little different because unlike our other questions, there was a lot of range and idea of what this means and what it means to who and how it means that to them and how you can take it and everything. So it was amazing to have someone like Brother Kopinski for the keynote speaker to this question. And what I learned is that I guess that we talk about it a lot in Lodge, but that it is really up to each individual Mason to know what that means. And I think that's what I learned about this.
And I agree with you too, because it was really fun sitting there with Chad, and he kind of explained something in a way that I didn't think of. Like when you ask this question, you're not asking one question. You're really asking like 3 to 5 questions. You know, what does it mean to be a traveling man as a Mason? What does it mean to be a legitimate traveling man? What does it mean to travel as a Mason? Can you be a traveling man and not travel? Like, there's so many ways you can frame this question. And it's funny because I went back and I watched our previous episode, and I think in each of our heads, we had one of these questions in our head of what the question meant. We just didn't know what we were thinking, you know? So I think it definitely opened up the eyes of what does it mean to be a traveling man? So what do you think, which question do you think resonated with you? When you hear that question, what do you think? Like what is your go-to, and did you learn anything through these episodes?
Well, so do you mean like in your list of questions there, which one resonates with me?
Sure. Most? Like when I say, like, you know, so when I say, what does it mean to be a traveling man? Which way are you framing it in your head?
When I hear that, how I frame it is kind of how I conduct myself in my life, is that I travel to all of my military drills as a Mason, and I conduct myself around my fellow men as a Mason. I travel through my day-to-day existence and like my normal vocation of working for the government as a public works department in the mindset of how do I do this daily traveling as a Mason. Now, and I also do it as I'm traveling on vacation. I'm going somewhere and I'm going to go there as a Mason. I'm not going to leave my literal and metaphorical apron and working tools at home. It's going to travel with me
Yeah.
as I go there. And that's how I frame this question. And I know, especially when it comes to a lot of people who delve into the esoterics, it's a much deeper question to them, but to me it is a very practical, tangible question for me.
Yeah, and I mean, I may be the imposter here, because I've been busy with life, and so I haven't been able to be on the this side of the microphone for a while. But like, just thinking about what does it mean to be a traveling man, it's kind of broadened my thoughts a little bit by, well, it's not just traveling to other lodges, traveling to other Masonic events. It's, am I taking the tools that I'm learning and using here in Lodge with me on my journey through life? Am I being that good Mason and representing, I'll say, the best fraternity in the world with me? Or am I just strictly going to Lodge for stated and special meetings and then straight home and taking off my ring, not having shirts or hats on that represent the fraternity, and going, nope, I got what I wanted. I got stated meetings and stuff. So that's where it's like, I agree with you, Gabe, where it's like that question, it seems like a very surface level question, but when you actually start thinking about it and listening to other people talk about it, your mind kind of unravels, and it's like, I am a traveling man because I am representing my fraternity. I am going out and being a better man, and making the world a better place because of not the way I was brought up or the way I was taught, but it's just because of all the brothers around me making me a better man. So it kind of goes to our previous question. Does Masons make me a better man? But also, what does it mean to be a traveling man?
That's actually really interesting. It's something that you said there in your response really caught me, because when I was responding to it, it was kind of like a me-centric question. Like, I was thinking about how it affects me, how I present myself, how I do my job. And you included your brothers in your response.
Mm-hmm.
And I really liked that. And it made me think about it for a second of like, well, yeah, maybe traveling man also does include doing service to your fellow man with your brothers too.
Yeah.
Not just what, ask not what you can do for your lodge, but what you and your lodge can do for the world.
Right?
Yes, Mr. President, will do.
Yes. Yeah, and I think I'm kind of on the same page as you guys. It is important to me, like, yeah, we travel, we go from lodge to lodge. You know, we just got done talking about our Grand Master's reception that's coming up.
Mm-hmm.
But it's also important to remember that we are Masons, not just in this lodge or any other lodge we go to. We're Masons in everyday life, and that reflects on us. It reflects on
being a Mason does not stop at the door.
Right. And you're traveling, you know, you are a Mason when you go to your annual training, and you are a Mason when you go to work every day. And I'm a Mason in the healthcare field.
There was actually, so right before we did our interview with Brother Kopinski, I had the fortune of going to Rubicon Lodge for an education night.
Mm-hmm.
And Brother King from Phoenix Lodge, he came and did a beautiful, beautiful presentation, kind of a esoterics type presentation. But there was one section of the presentation that really caught me, was that Lodge really is more of an experience, and Lodge is not always just a building that you go to and has four walls and a floor and a roof.
Yeah.
That you go to for your stated meetings. Lodge can be something you apply to your entire life.
Mm-hmm.
And how you act and how you do. But also, it was in this same education seminar that it was talking about Brother Albert Pike, who said that each Mason is experiencing their Masonic journey for themselves individually. Meaning every Mason has to travel through their Masonic career for their own reason and at their own pace and in their own way. Even though a lot of it tends to look the same, act the same, feel the same, dress the same, speak the same.
Yeah, but we're all unique. I've always said that. Every Mason is unique.
Exactly, and that was what I was going to.
We all come from the same cloth.
Yes,
same altar, if you would.
That in of itself is traveling.
Right.
That just the journey itself is traveling.
Yes.
Well, and it's what's cool to look at that and to think about that, going back to us talking about that lodge in that concentration camp in World War II. Were they traveling?
Yes.
I would say they were traveling to a place that hopefully none of us ever have to go.
Mm-hmm.
But I'd say that they were traveling.
Well, and fortunately with current events and current people saying certain things, it doesn't give me much hope on that front. But
yeah.
But I will say, being a traveling man doesn't just pertain to Masons or Masonic events or Masonic gatherings or stuff. Because, for example, the other day, my wife and Ricky's girlfriend went to a book event thing, and then afterwards, Braden and Ricky were at our house, and we were kind of talking, and they're like, well, we gotta go home for dinner, and we're like, okay, have fun and stuff. And they're like, well, do you guys want to come over and have dinner with us? And we're like, yeah, if you guys want. And it was a spur of the moment, went over there, chit-chatted with Ricky's dad for a while, stayed there for 3-4 hours. And it's like, even though, yes, Ricky and I are both Masons and brothers, it's like, this is kind of like what traveling is just going out and having a good time and just making memories.
Well, and not just that too. Like so I had everybody over on last Saturday. Not everybody, but like all the people that play D&D in our group. We're gonna move the game back to my house.
Oh, okay.
But we had to clean my basement up, and I was like, hey, if you guys want to do it at my house, I don't care, but you guys gotta like help me do this because there's no way. It's my stuff, but we got to get it set up in a way that works for everybody.
Yeah.
Well, while we were there, Ricky came, Jack came, and we're like, whatever. Or Ricky's there with Curtis, and we're doing something. Well, all of a sudden they looked at one of my lights and like, wow, this is wired in such a weird way. So they took it apart, and, we killed the breaker, and we're looking at it, and we're like, oh, it's just wires wrapped in electrical tape. Like,
Ricky
there's no caps, nothing. So I'm like, oh, is that a problem? Like, could be.
Someday it was.
So they came over, they capped all the wires together. We took the light out and recapped all the wires to where they're supposed to be, because we don't know, the colors are not the colors they should be.
Yep.
They're some weird, the red is the ground. We don't know. But then Jack came over after he went grocery shopping later that day, because we called him, and he's like, I'll come over. Like, I'll come look at it. No problem. Comes over, he's over for 15 minutes, caps everything, tapes everything, goes, hey, I will come over when I got some time to check your ground. I want to bring my voltmeter and check these, because I want to make sure before I rewire it that these are what they say they are. So, die. So I almost made a bad joke. We already had one of us go.
Inside joke.
Inside joke, Craftsman.
This friend group has some rough experiences with
interesting. So we, but like, it was crazy because all we had to do, all we had to do was say to Jack, like, hey, Sam's got a problem. Jack comes out of his way to help me. Like, wasn't even a hey, Jack, can you help me? It was just an instinctual, hey, I'm coming over. I'll be there in 10 minutes.
Well, that's how we all have been since we all got to know each other, through what we've learned together and experienced together and been part of together, and we just continue to do it. I mean, even when Ricky and I get angry at each other and argue with each other about things we should not be arguing about as viciously as we do, we still, I'll text him when I'm in town. It's like, hey, want a beer? Or
Yep.
we'll
We move on.
We hang out at parties together.
They're like
and
Vince and
then we
Cy.
call
They don't.
each other,
Vince and Cy
call
don't
each
get
other
it.
joke names.
Yeah.
We get along when we're together.
Right, but they don't cohabitate outside of like we're all together because we're together, but they argue. You know, they don't get along about a lot of things. But when we're all together, we're all on the same page.
Another thing of like being a traveling man and brotherly love is when Bree and I moved from the apartment to the house, I asked 16 or 17 people, thinking like, oh, half of them won't show up or tell me they're busy, which was like pretty much all of our friend group. Every single one of you fucks were like, yeah, I'll be there. And I was like, wait, what? And they're like, yeah. And sure enough, I think, Gabe, you had other plans.
I had annual training. I just offer you my truck, though.
Yes, yeah. And that was like, you were the only one that was like, hey, something just came up. I can't make it. And I was just like, holy shit, we're moving from a one-bedroom apartment to a house. I think we got it done in 2 hours.
Mm-hmm.
And then instead of everyone just going home and going back to their lives, y'all sat around. You guys sat on the floor, went down to the basement, played ping pong on the ping pong table. My parents were there. You guys even like talked to my dad downstairs and
That's
had
how
a
this has
great
always
time.
gone. It went the same with you and Dustin. It went the same way with Curtis.
We take care of each other.
Yeah.
But we are traveling, like we are being
Yes.
traveling men when we do those things.
Yes.
We take care. When we go down and help the Chamber of Commerce and do stuff, we are traveling men. We're living Masonry outside of the lodge. So we are traveling. But that's not to say, because then you got guys that enjoy traveling from lodge to lodge to lodge, like Charlie and Mark. They love doing that. They too are traveling men. It is just, I want to go back to what Chad said. I know you didn't hear this, but he was like, we talked about, is it possible for a Mason who has never been in an actual lodge, like let's say you watched your degrees on a laptop.
Yep.
Are you a Mason at that point? And we had a big long talk about, you know, can your values and your opinions dictate my path in Masonry? And I would argue no, but I would also argue there is a tradition there, right?
That's such a hard question to answer, and that was why it was posed that way.
It's a good question.
It's a very good question, and the problem is that it's another problem when you get into divisive questions like that, because a lot of people are going to take very hard stances on it, and they have very understandable and rational reasons for taking such a hard stance on it. But at the same time, if we go down the rabbit hole of esoteric interpretations of things, then then you see the justification for the way for doing it in the opposite way. It's very hard to answer, and I sometimes like I was thinking about that question for a good couple of days afterwards, and I know what my opinion was when I was first asked that question, and I probed it, and I threw different Masonic interpretations at it, and I was like, okay, well, does it line up with this? Does it line up with this? Could I justify it this way? Could I justify it this way? And on examination, I think I would still fall in the original camp that I did, but not necessarily for the same reasons. It's more of this is what I value and is important in my Masonic journey, but I'm not going to necessarily now be the absolutely not, get out of here, I don't recognize you kind of thing.
Right. I think that there's a point where we're like, listen, the tradition goes on because of this. Like, but also I understand if you have some reason why you can't, but we also don't just let anyone in. So if you're not if you're not willing to conform to the tradition, we can only bend the tradition so much.
Yes.
You know,
because that's again another very interesting question is, does the traveling define the tradition, or does the tradition define the traveling?
Yeah.
So
Which
go
is
back.
a very hard question to answer.
I'm gonna kind of rewind time a little bit, Sam, because you are right. I didn't hear it from Chad. He repeat what Chad asked/said.
So he had a guy, he had this argument that like Chad was saying, hey, you have to be in a lodge room to be a Mason. You have to go to this degree, you have to watch this. And he had this guy who essentially lives at home. He never leaves unless he has to. He works from home. He gets things delivered from Amazon. He can order DoorDash. His girlfriend comes to him. He's a Mason, but he joined during COVID when we were able to do
Video
Zoom
calls
and videos and stuff.
Yep.
He's like,
and he doesn't refuse to go to in-person things, but his question was, like, why is it necessary?
So
why is it necessary that I live exclusively the Masonic journey you're telling me to, instead of living what I know works for me
and
life?
and I would argue with that too. There is a place for that, as long as there was an exception made. We did what we did. We got through the times. He's a Mason of his time. There are online lodges you can join, and you can be a Mason in an online lodge.
So I would say
different regulations and requirements.
Yes,
and they have to be
legal,
authorized and
legal and
chartered through the Grand Lodge.
But you can do it. And I guess if that's what you want and for your Masonic journey, and that's what gets you through it. But I would also argue that, like, I don't think you can virtually be a member of Genoa Lodge. I think you're either here or you're not.
So I would say, being a Mason, you can be a Mason by title only.
Right.
If you go through the first 3 degrees, you are a Mason by title only. When you start taking those tools and actually kind of reforming / using those tools in life to be a better man, make the world a better place, then you are truly a Mason. So the guy that joined during COVID, he is a Mason, not by title only. He is a Mason because he is using those tools to better himself and better those around him, better his life. Now, if you told me he went through the 3 degrees during COVID, he pays his dues, and that is it. We never talk to him. We never see him. He doesn't do anything. I would argue he is a Mason by title only.
Yes, and I don't think Masonry is a spectator sport, unfortunately.
I agree. Now, is that me saying he has to go to a physical lodge? Or the virtual world of today, which the world is going to everything virtual, you do not have to physically go anywhere to do anything. Like you said, he gets Amazon stuff, he gets food delivered and stuff.
That's part of some of the grounding spiritual benefit to our fraternity, though. We don't necessarily always bend to the whims of the times.
Agreed.
I would agree, but kind of going back to that, you have to bend a little bit. Not getting rid of completely tradition, or like slowly getting rid of tradition, but at the same time, are we not telling the members that join and showing them how to become better? Can we not do that digitally? Do we have to do that in person? I see what you're saying. Traditionally speaking, yes, we have to do that in person because that's how it's always been. But I'm saying, if not, and I'm like you guys, I don't want to go virtual meetings. I like seeing people. I like the commentation before and afterwards.
Education. There's nothing wrong with There's nothing wrong with virtual education. There's nothing wrong with virtual minutes. There's nothing wrong with using. I mean, it's just like AI. There's nothing wrong with having another tool.
Yes.
There's nothing wrong with having another tool in your Masonic tool belt while you're on your Masonic journey.
Yes.
That I completely agree with. The problem is that this is going to sound really esoteric and really weird, but does Masonry exist for the purpose of the journey, or does Masonry help facilitate the journey that we're already on as good, upstanding men and part of this idea of what Masonry and the Masonic journey and traveling is? does masonry exist without masonry, or does masonry exist for masonry?
So I would like thinking about it in a way. I would say to this brother that's in this situation, it's not necessarily the fraternity's job to bend to fit your mold. You have to fit the mold of the fraternity. We all have to conform just a little bit, right?
Mm-hmm.
But
we all bring our certain flares to it, but we do have to fit a certain stuff.
Sure. So I would argue that, like, yeah, this guy absolutely could have a Masonic journey where he's at home. He doesn't come to a physical lodge. He's got his brothers online. He's doing whatever he does with that. That's phenomenal. If that works for him, as long as he's not expecting the rest of the fraternity to bend in that way. He has to find the way that he fits into the fraternity.
To be fair, is a super big systemic problem that we have in just modern life in general, is that and I'm even guilty of it myself. We all have fallen into it over the years of thinking that we are the center, we are the most important part, meaning it has to change to fit us, rather than us being willing to integrate to what is expected of us, but then still hold on to what may make us unique.
Right. And very much so to me, like, this whole collective, Masonry is a bunch of us coming together to make something better than ourselves, to build something for the future, to try to take care of the community so it continues on. I mean, you can come up with anything you want, but it's a collective. I guess it's where you find where you are the mortar in this brick wall. This guy might not necessarily be the brick, but he could be. If I called this guy and I said, "Hey, brother, I'm having some problem with my internet. Could you help me?" "Yeah, I got you, bro. Let me click. I don't know what people can do on the internet. I'm not a tech guy, but hacks into my stuff. Goes into the Pentagon. I was like, "Oh, look at that!" Fixes my stuff and it's done. I'm like, "Oh, thanks, brother. I appreciate you." But if I call this guy and he's, "Oh, I don't really want to talk to people. I don't want
no, I'm not going to be a walker during your third degree inspection section." You can't call him for that stuff because that's not what he wants to do.
Yeah, it's
so
ask not what your lodge can do for you, but what you can do for your lodge. I'm sorry, but that's just a fact. I'm gonna put that on a T-shirt. It's just like
that.
And then I'm going to remind you of it when you complain about certain things.
Yeah, right.
Sam, that needs to be our next sticker.
Yeah, right. I like it with a picture of Gabe
at
with
the
a top
podium.
hat. I want Gabe with a top hat.
It'll be black and white. It'll be recreating Kennedy at the podium, and it'll be me behind the podium, and it says, "Ask not what you can do for what your lodge can do for you, but what you can do for your lodge." Yeah.
So I want to backpedal a little bit because we've talked a lot about Chad's episode, but we've had a lot of interesting episodes, right?
Mm-hmm.
I know we didn't get to do nearly as much as we wanted to do. Maybe we can look at doing that in the future.
But life happens.
Mm. The traveling happens.
Yeah, it does. No kidding. I really enjoyed talking with Brother Cart. I liked some of the practical aspects that we did in this. We didn't just stick with the esoterics of it. We were also very practical. We talked about, Charlie and Mark going to England and telling us their experiences with that, and then telling us how to travel. What should you do?
Mm-hmm.
What's the protocol, at least here in Ohio, but it's probably similar everywhere else. Which is really important because our EA just asked me the other day. He was like, "Hey, if I travel, do I need?" I was like, "You don't need to know any of that right now because we are going with you.
Yeah.
We are chaperoning you. We are vouching for you." He goes, "But I do need to know that." I said, "You probably should. I don't."
That's not you'll...
No, we've all visited all these places and we've never,
He's always had someone to vouch for us, and we're like, "Well, we need to repeat this," and they're like, "Don't worry about it."
Well, it was really interesting because you're supposed to know the Tyler's Oath.
Right, and I don't.
To travel, and I spent forever learning that, memorizing that to travel to Tennessee,
mm-hmm.
and they don't do that. They do something different, and when they realize it's like, oh, well, you have this part memorized. It's like, oh, yeah, you're fine. You've got
Like,
your dues
here's
card.
my dues card.
Yeah, it's like, oh, okay, you didn't know that we do this little.
And honestly,
difference.
listening to Charlie and then listening to you, and then you've got our episode about Gettysburg, me and Ricky talking about going to Gettysburg, and talking about, you know, how we didn't do things right, but they still found a way.
They knew, because
they found a way.
There are certain signs and symbols and mannerisms,
right?
That
and
we were recognizable.
But we were able to figure it out. We found that that in between. So that was really cool. I really liked talking, you know, like I said, with Charlie and Mark. Hearing about their trip to England is just fascinating. But also talking with Brother Bill Carter about anti-Masonry, because that is something we deal with, especially in today, like recently, like in the last 3 weeks. I didn't realize how much anti-Masonic sentiment is out there right now.
And you're going to have to learn to travel. And
it's getting worse, and you're going to have to learn how to deal with it. And, you know, I think Bill had a great this has all happened before. The story you've read has been done before.
The story you are about to hear has been told many times before.
You were just like a lot 70s trip right now with that voice.
No, it's a tick. You're not a TikTok guy. That's a TikTok voice.
No.
The story you're about to hear has been told before. A lot. So
sorry, I've assumed the old man, and I don't do your TikTok.
Baloney.
So
if there's anyone here at this old table that classifies as being older than they actually are, it's
us. We're all old.
I mean, we're doing a podcast.
I'm on 8 blood pressure medications. We're fine. But anyway, it was interesting to hear, because, you know, we watched the Sean Ryan episode. And
not the full thing, but
not the full thing. I did. I watched the whole thing. Dude's a nut job. The guy on the episode, fucking Dan Schneider, he's a freaking nut job. But like, we reached out on that episode, right? I think we were very, very polite. I think we were informative. We didn't take shots at Sean Ryan. I definitely took some shots at Dan Schneider, but, you know, he did call us pedophiles. So, and then now, I find out now that the Sean Ryan show is continuing to have people on that are just bashing Freemasonry, because I think he found out he gets views from it. All these wackadoodles are coming out. So I've deleted his show. I left him a negative review, and I'm, you know what? Fuck you. Like, if that's what you're going to do, if you're going to take the things I love and you're going to turn it into clickbait and allow these people to do this, I'm done. And I'm done being nice about it.
Yeah.
I'm past it. But like, and then you've got Candace Owens fucking talking about us like we're
demons.
Oh my God. I did not have that on my bingo card. I didn't think it was real. I thought it was fake. And then, you know, one of the other podcasters sent it to me, and I was like, what the hell? I'm like, okay, all right. So it's a real thing we're dealing with in 2026. I didn't have that on my bingo card. So I think that episode, I think that was a very practical, useful episode. But it was also nice to hear that none of this is new. The way we're hearing about it, the way we see it, the way we ingest the bullshit, it's different than when we were, you know, than the Morgan affair, but it's not that much different than the anti-Masonic. I mean, they just haven't formed an anti-Masonic party yet, but you know what? I wouldn't be surprised.
It'll probably pop up somewhere or part of something.
Yeah, that's crazy. So, I mean, and I think that was a really practical, useful episode. And I like that. I like the fact that we were practical and esoteric, I guess. In a way. I mean, we kind of got a piece of both. I don't think we could have asked for better guests for this question. I don't know. What do you think?
No, I think the guests were great. It's the problem we always run into this when we do these follow-up episodes, even though we enjoy doing it, is that there's not a simple answer.
No, and that's what I love, though. I love that we all have a different opinion, and it's
not different opinion, but different ways of looking at it.
Well, yeah. I mean, we're all looking at Masonry through a different lens. All of us. We're all looking like you have main character energy for yourself. I have main character energy we all just inherently main character ourselves. But it's when we look through the lens of how we see it, and then I listen to how you see it, and I see how Ryan sees it, I can formulate a much better opinion of everything and go, huh, I never thought of that. Okay. And I take something else. I mean, that's why I love these like breakdowns of these episodes, because I'm like, did we learn something? Yeah, I think we did. I mean, even if it's not this like, it doesn't have to be huge, but I feel like it's like
Huge.
huge.
Sorry.
I feel like
That's my ism.
I'm going to take Masonry. It's going to be the greatest Masonry we've ever had before in the history of Freemasonry. I'm telling you, I'm going to be the best past master. I'm going to be the best worshipful master. I will make Masonry Masonry.
Oh my God. I love the fact that when we get old, we are just all going to be in the Browning Masonic home. And it's just,
I know exactly where you're going.
we're just going to be stimming all these
Be
things.
like,
And these Gen Z.
wallet, a watch, waffle.
Like the new, old aid is gonna be like to the new aid. Do not say great. Do not make any references of orange, or don't say any of this. And they're like,
Don't
why?
say 6,
It's
7.
like, yeah, don't say 6, 7. It's like, well, why? Just go in there and just say great. And someone's gonna be like, wow, this is a great day, and we're all gonna be like, it's great.
It's great.
It's gonna be awesome.
It's going to be great.
And we're all going to do it in unison, and then that person's gonna walk off and be like, what's the other words I don't say?
No, I think the one that's going to get them and is just going to piss everyone off.
Huge.
What flavor pudding are they having for lunch today? Chocolate. Chocolate.
Chocolate. Oh my God, who said it?
Yeah, right. And yeah.
See, it is things like that I am looking forward to. I am looking forward to our generation's humor of the future.
Oh,
Because I can't stand current generation humor.
God.
It's awful.
But anyway, I think we're, I don't know. I really am happy with how we answered this question. I think we had a fun mix of practical information and.
I can't wait to go back to actually have time to listen to all the episodes.
Yeah, you've been a little busy.
Yeah.
You've been a busy bee.
I should just start the podcast when I go to sleep, so then I'm just dreaming of Masonry.
Just osmosis.
See, I just plug it into our work trucks and I listen to it while I'm driving around and stuff.
I'm forced to
That's
listen
why
to
we
it
keep
when I
getting
edit.
those noise complaints. Gotcha.
Yeah.
Absolutely. But anybody have anything else they'd like to add?
No. I think this is a good way to end it.
Yeah.
I haven't enjoyed.
So question answered?
We've
Yeah. Oh, well.
The biggest question I think the real secret to Freemasonry was the friends we made along the way.
You can go die.
It wasn't the secret to Masonry. It was the friends we made along the way.
We made along this journey.
New Jersey.
We made along our travels.
I will say we have answered the question to the best of our knowledge.
Cool.
Because I don't think there's a full 100% answer to this question. Like kind of what we've talked.
And I think that's what we've come up with. It's all going to be another personal answer, but I think we've left the craftsmen with enough information that they can formulate their own opinion.
Yeah. So let me ask you this, Sam, big brain guy.
Oh God.
What's our next question? Do you have one brewing yet?
Still working on it.
Okay.
Still working on it. I got some ideas, but
I would love to listen or hear from the listeners what they think the next question should be.
I agree. If you could, craftsman, if you want to reach out on social media, on Facebook, Messenger, you can ask any of the guys that do send us messages. I message back almost immediately. I have no life. I'm attached to my phone 24/7, and I will message you back almost immediately. If you leave us a comment on Spotify or YouTube, I will answer you back. Don't you worry.
Whether it's 2 a.m., 2 p.m.
Yeah, I'll surprise you.
We will send you a strongly worded letter. If you're another podcast that does terrible things, we will send you a strongly worded letter of disapproval.
But yeah, we would love to hear from you on what you think the next question is going to be. But I will tell you, I am looking forward to the next few months of just taking a back seat and just being able to work on
breathing.
Well, I mean, I'm still going to be busy. We're still going to have episodes coming out, but I'm really looking forward to some pet projects I've been working on. I've got some episodes that we're going to enjoy. We're going to have fun. We're going to have some interesting guests on. We're going to try and be on some other podcasts.
God damn, nursing home's going to be fun. Because you were like, we're going to have fun, and all I can think of is, Why isn't everyone having fun? I
I
specifically ordered it.
Brooklyn Nine-Nine, yeah.
Oh God,
But
we're
it's
fucked.
gonna be bad. But yeah, I've got some episodes with that. I've got a couple of episodes that are gonna probably piss some people off.
You know, the squeaky wheel gets the oil.
You know what though? It's an episode
It's
in
the most grease.
It's the episode
That's how that phrase goes.
Yes, it's the episode I'm very passionate about because I'm going through it right now. And it's so true, and it's not a negative dig at anybody in particular, but it really needs to be said.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm looking forward to that. And I don't know if it's going to be our next one or the one after that, but
It's gonna be huge.
it's going to be huge.
I'm the greatest traveling man. No one is a better traveling man than me. I invented traveling.
Okay. All right.
Oh Lord. So I
Take your phone away, too.
I think we're just spiraling because we're all just so sleep
And
deprived
tired.
and
Yeah.
tired. So
But
thank you.
That's why we come together to deliver the best
Yes.
experience we can for the
We try anyway.
So thank you, listeners, for paying attention to us and going with us through this journey.
And if you could take some time out of your day to please leave us a rating on your favorite podcasting service of choice. We've gotten some really good ones on Apple and Spotify. I really appreciate it, guys. Thank you so much.
Not on pair, though.
On another note, on another episode, if you are still listening to this episode and you are a regular listener, if you are interested on being on the show and you would like to jump in, even if it's just for a quick, we want to have an episode this summer where we talk to you guys.
Mhm.
I just want to sit down. I want to have the listeners on. I want to listen. We'd have a chit chat back and forth with them. If you are interested, please reach out to me. I would love to have you on this show. So, on that note, remember, craftsmen.
Keep your working tools in order.
And always be on the level.
Thank you.
The views and opinions expressed on this podcast do not reflect those of the Grand Lodge of Ohio, its officers, or any of its jurisdictions. They only reflect those of the hosts or guests.